Good morning to all of you. In the last class, we have discussed about the general characters of phylum Mollusca, and then we have to also try to understand about one class and the example that's the bivalvia and the two examples. One, the freshwater mussel or the unio, and the other one being the mytilus. So today we will move on to the next class. That's the class gastropoda. The class gastropoda is the one of the largest class in the mollusca. These are the speciality of this gastropoda is they are either aquatic or terrestrial. Whatever the most of the terrestrial molluscans that you see, they belongs to this class uh, gastropoda. Starting from snail and slugs, ನೀವು ಬಸವನಹುಳ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಸೇರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. They are either aquatic or terrestrial. The speciality of this gastropoda is they have a shell, but it is a spiral shell, coiled shell, which you can see here, like in pila or even in snails, wherever there are shells, that you can see that. And they have a spiral shell, and the head is very well developed. Very well developed head you can expect among all the molluscans. Only two classes have well developed head. So here, the gastropoda can either two or four sensory tentacles also. In the head region, if you see, you can see either uh, two or four sensory tentacles. And most of these gastropods have a simple eye spot at the tip of the tentacle. Only they cannot see with the help of that, but they can sense the presence or absence of light. That means they can sense the day light as well as the darkness. Another very interesting thing is the gastropoda mouth is often provided with a rasp-like tongue, a tongue which is rasp-like. What you call they are known as the radula, which is meant for cutting the food material. Another feature that separates this gastropoda is the ventral or muscular foot, which distinguishes the gastropoda from other molluscan is the ventral or muscular foot. This foot is always appended with a gland that secretes some mucus-like fluid. Uh, First, a mucus-like fluid is secreted, and on the mucus-like fluid, uh, the animal glides. So, as a result, the moving will be made easier for them. It is mucus-like, very slimy. On that, they can slowly slide themselves. So, these gastropods have one piece of spiral shell. They have only one piece of spiral shell that is made out of horn-like or calcareous material with only one opening on the right side and the soft body, because all of you know the molluscans they have the bodies very soft. The body is underneath this single shell. A good example for this gastropoda are helix, limax, pila, even the conchal in ಶಂಖ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ, all of them belongs to this class gastropoda. Here we are going to discuss about one particular example, that is the pila globosa or apple snail, which is popularly known as apple snail, and it is one of the most commonest snails we can see. And this is the one of the largest freshwater mollusks, one of the largest freshwater mollusks, and it is commonly found in the freshwater ponds, pools, tanks, lakes, marshes, rice field, sometime even in rivers, streams, puddles, swamps, everywhere you can find it, unless the water is not polluted. That's a very, very important thing. Remember, these molluscans are the good indicators of pollution. If in a water body or in a land, if you see uh, these many of these molluscans, that indicates it is not being polluted by either the pesticides or industrial effluents. If at all the water is more polluted, you don't see them generally. They occur uh, in those areas of the water body where there must be plenty of aquatic vegetation. If there's aquatic plants are there, naturally you will find this apple snail like Velisneria, Pistia, if they are there, because the apple snail is a herbivore. It feeds on these aquatic plants. So that's why wherever there are aquatic plants, uh, this in a freshwater body, the phyla is generally found to be there. They are amphibious, in the sense, though they are aquatic, on the land also they can survive for considerably large duration of time, in the sense. Though they cannot survive fully on the terrestrial land, but for a considerable period duration of time or period of time, they can survive even on the land. So this is the Pila globosa. You can see here this is a single shell which is coiled. I have already told you this is known for coiled shell. And a shell, if you see the top of the shell, what you call apex of the shell, and then below that there will be whorls. You can see one, two, three, four whorls, and though it is a single shell, you can see the demarcations, uh, and that is known as varix. And this is called as the entire shell. The animal is not seen because animal is inside the shell. So here you can see the body whorl, and this is the suture, and here you can see the uh, actually the mouth or aperture, and the outer lip, and the single shell. Uh, if you want to know the external feature of this Pila globosa, shell is a univalve. That means made out of single shell, but coiled around the central axis in a right-handed spiral, which you can see in a right-handed spiral that is coiled around the axis, central axis. The top of the shell, what you call the is the apex, which is formed first. First apex is formed. This apex is the first part that has been formed, and afterwards, slowly by adding more and more bands, it will grow in size. So, from the apex contain the smallest and the oldest whorl. We can say that apex is the smallest or the oldest whorl. Below the apex is a spire consisting of several successively larger whorls or coiled. See here, this is the first whorl. Below that there will be number of whorls which are coiled but considerably larger than the apex. Several larger whorls or coils, and largest whorl is nothing but the body which encloses most of the body. So this is the largest whorl where you can see. This is also called as body whorl, and it encloses most of the uh, body of this animal inside. Then the operculum fitting into the mouth of the shell is a calcareous operculum. Uh, its outer surface shows number of rings of growth around the nucleus. See, this is the apex. Uh, Here you can see the growth lines. Number of growth rings around the nucleus, which by measuring that, even you can measure the age of that one. And that is also made up of calcareous muscles, and even it has been attached with When the food is withdrawn, the operculum closes the mouth of the shell. In the food, there's a, there are mucus glands, that is known as pedal mucus gland, which forms a slime trail during the locomotion. This you can see in most of the molluscans, including your Basonoda. When it moves, a mucus trail is left behind. Wave of contraction overs the locomotion. This wave of contraction starts from the anterior end to posterior end of the foot, and that is the main power for locomotion. Above this head and foot complex, there are visceral mass, and this visceral mass contains the main organs. In fact, it fills the entire bodywork of the shell. Larger area is occupied by this visceral mass. The visceral mass usually shows a twisting or coiling, what is known as torsion, which is distinct from coiling. Actually, it's a torsion. It rotates by 180 degree, and as a result, even the entire animal is twisted, coiled. It is soft and gray, or sometimes it may be dark brown in color also. See, this is the animal inside. This is the mantle. This is the visceral mass. Actually, here you can see the foot which is extending. The These are the eyes which are placed on the ometophores. This is what you call the operculum, and first pair of tentacles. This is the second pair of tentacles. This is the sole or foot which is seen. Uh, as I have told you, there's triangular foot which you can see. Here it is spotted. On the other side, it has mucus glands also. See the ometophores or stalk on which the eyes are placed. The role of the eyes is to what is known as the sensing the presence or absence of light. Mantle, also referred as pallium, it covers the entire visceral mass. See, this is the mantle, which cover the entire visceral mass, and this is below the shell. When you open the shell, then only you will see this one. It covers the entire visceral mass, and it forms a hood-like thing over the animal when it is withdrawn inside. So the edge of the mantle is thick, and they are also provided with some shell glands. And these shell glands secrete the calcareous shell. As I have told you, the above in the edge or in the margin, they are thickened. Above this thickened edge, there are certain grooves known as supramarginal grooves. The grooves are known as supramarginal grooves. So, this is the visceral mass. See here, the eyes are very clearly visible, even the mouth. This is the mantle. The digestive system, if you look into it, it has three important things, important organ. One is the alimentary canal, which is very tubular, a pair of salivary glands, and there is also a large digestive gland. These three things constitute the digestive system. See here. There's a which you can clearly see this is the esophagus. On either side, there's a large salivary gland. This and this salivary gland, and there's a tubular gastrointestinal tract. See here. The mainly feeds on aquatic plants of succulent in nature, rich, full of water. Velisneria, pistia. Uh, they can be cut by the jaws because jaw, even tongue is a rasping organ. Cut by the jaws at odontophores. When the radula moves forward and backward, when the radula moves forward and backward, it can cut the food particle like a chainsaw, and it can fill the mouth with these small pieces of the food. Thus, the food is cut up and masticated inside the buccal cavity. They are also masticated inside the buccal cavity, which you can see here. And digestive glands aid in the process of digestion by secreting number of digestive enzymes. In Pila globosa, the sexes are separate. That is dioecious. And there's a definite sexual dimorphism also. What are the difference between male and female? The shell of the male is usually smaller in size. The shell of the male is usually smaller in size and less swollen than the female. Female is more bulky. Male is less swollen. There's a well-developed copulatory organ in the male. Well-developed copulatory organ. This copulatory organ is also found in the female, but it is rudimentary. It has not been fully developed, rudimentary. But in case of the male, it is fully functional and well developed. So, with the help of copulatory organ, it can undertake the reproduction. Then, the development of the pila is concerned, there are two larval stages. The first stage is known as trochosphere larva. The first larva is the trochosphere larva, and then when they grow, trochosphere larva metamorphose into another larva known as veliger larva. Then veliger larva metamorphose into the young adult. What is larva? Larva is nothing but the intermediate between the egg and the adult. The intermediate between the egg and the adult, we call it as larva. So there are two larvae. One is trochosphere larva, and later the trochosphere changes into another larva, what is known as veliger larva. Uh, Free swimming, the trochosphere larva is free swimming, and it is found in many of the primitive gastropods. But except pila, in many of these gastropods, the trochophore larva stage is reduced. When it is within the egg only, there is a trochophore larva, and when the egg hatches and young one comes out, they will be in a veliger larva state. So, this is about the another very important example for gastropoda, that is the pila, which is most common. There are so many other examples. Anything, all our conch shells in Shanka ಅಂತ ಕರಿತಿರಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ, which is used for religious purpose. They all belongs to the same class. There's the gastropoda. Now, After having studied this class gastropoda, let's move on to the class cephalopoda, the next class. The cephalopoda, cephalopoda, poda means leg, head leg, the literary meaning. They are mostly marine organisms. They are all mostly marine organisms, though there are one or two freshwater and terrestrial forms are there. But generally speaking, they are all uh, marine forms, and they are adapted for swimming also. They don't crawl or walk, but mostly they swim. The shell may be external shell, sometimes the shell may be internal, or there are examples where the shell is totally absent. Shell may be external, internal, or it may be absent also. In fact, the cephalopods occur in large number and they are the major food resource of the ocean. Greater and even all oceans have greatest potential for these cephalopods. The example for the cephalopod is the octopus, loligo, sepia, spirula, nautilus. There are so many examples we can give for this one. But we know the octopus and the squids, which are very popular. In the cephalopods, anterior portion of the foot is modified into a circle of tentacles or arms. Here, the foot itself, not the entire foot, but anterior part of the foot has been modified into a circle of tentacles. They are also called as arms. And these tentacles or arms are mainly used to catch the prey or sometimes for the attachment, even for locomotion and even for copulation, that's for reproduction. The foot with the mantle cavity is also modified into a funnel-like structure. The foot with the mantle-like cavity that's also modified into a funnel-like structure. Uh, the funnel is used for jet-like locomotion. In the sense, with the help of the funnel, the water is forced and like a jet, by forcing the water jet in the opposite direction, the animal can move. The head is in line with the visceral mass. The head is in line with the visceral mass. Uh, they are in the same axis. The cephalopods have a highly muscular mantle. Mantle is highly muscular. Here also the mantle encloses all of the body except head and tentacles. Everything is covered by this mantle. The main function of the mantle is one to enclose the entire body. More than that, the mantle also acts as a pump. The pumping of this mantle forces large amount of water into the mantle cavity. Even cephalopods size range is also very diverse. There are some giant squids. There is the Architectus species. They are the largest living invertebrates. Largest living invertebrates. There's the giant squids. Also comes under this class cephalopoda. Architects ducks is an species which attains a length of more than 20 meters. Even the length is more than 60 feet, including their expanded tentacles. Even there are some smallest cephalopods or squids which can be less than an inch in length. One hand, there are one which can grow even up to 20 centimeters, 20 meters, and even there are one which are less than an inch in length. The average octopus, if you see, has arms up to 30 centimeters. Sometimes, very rarely, the octopus can get a arm which is of the length of a meter. Even there is one species of octopus, Dolphini. The arm span is even up to 9 meters. Even there are certain fossil records available which measure about 200 not 5 centimeters, even up to 6 feet 8 inches in diameter. And that is also considered as largest shelled mollusca. Unlike gastropods, the cephalopods are strict carnivores. Exactly what they eat depends on the species. Each species, which food is different. It's also depending on the size. But if you want to generalize this food habit, they feed on various types of fishes, crustaceans, and even feeds on other mollusks. Usually, the cephalopods have hard beaks like structure, which are made up of horn, with the help of which it can tear and devour its prey. Most of the species of the cephalopods they go for hunt in search of food. They go for hunting. But there are few species which are scavengers, which feeds on dead and decaying matter for their food. A good example for this cephalopoda is the octopus, because all of us are fascinated for the fascination for octopus, and there are also a lot of myths also about the octopus. Octopus is a group again in the class cephalopoda. The size varies greatly. The smallest is about 5 centimeters, while the largest may grow up to 5.4 meters in length. And in such species of octopus which grow more than 5.4 meters, the arm span is almost 9 meters. Anything within the reach of 9 meters it can feed on. The typical octopus, if you see, it is a sac-like body, sacular body. Looks like a sac. Only the head is slightly demarcated from the body. Otherwise, it will be difficult to identify which is head and which is the trunk. But here, the head is slightly demarcated from the body, and in the head also you can have. How do you identify the head? Because on the head there are complex eyes and 8 contractile arms. Octo means 8. So there are 8 arms. So that's why it is known as octopus. And on the arm, each arm bears 2 rows of fleshy suckers. With the help of this, the animal gets the maximum holding power, great holding power. Can hold anything because arms are also fleshy. On that, you can see the fleshy suckers in 2 rows. The arms are joined at the base by a tuft or web of tissues, and this web of tissues is known as skirt. At the center of the skirt, you can see the mouth. The mouth is having a pair of sharp, horny, beak-like and file-like organ, what is known as the radula. Radula is used for drilling shells and rasping away the fleas. If the octopus wants to feed on other molluscans, first it should break open the hard shell. The radula can drill the hole in the shell of other molluscans and with the help of that makes them to feed. See, this is the head, the aperture, this is the funnel, eyes, and on the arm, this is the arm where you can see 2 rows of suckers, fleshy suckers. Octopus is cosmopolitan distribution. It is found everywhere in the oceans of oceans. Even it has been observed that they can survive even in the most hostile environment. Even around Antarctica, they have been spotted. Even this octopus is found at the deeper layers of the water. Even if they are seen even up to 17,000 feet. Octopus are the molluscs that have completely lost their shell. There is no shell at all, except this one species. The one species having the shell. The giant Pacific octopus can reach to a length of 15 meters and head size is of a football size. And each giant Pacific octopus weighs about 100 pounds. It is also having 8 arms, about 5 feet in long, and on this arm, on the inner margin of the arm, there are around 2,000 suckers. The smallest octopuses are about an inch long. The octopus assigned to deep sea, what is known as deep sea octopus, they are found at the depths of around even up to 3,000 feet. Here, the food is not used as a sucker. two rows of suckers, which are helpful for attachment. Out of these suckers, the growing suckers are used to signal each other and attract the prey. The sucker can also impart color and uh, glow, and that is the glow from the uh, arm by having the suckers are used to signal each other, and even it is also used to attract the prey. See, octopus on that there are two rows of suckers. The appendage at the top of the arm is not the head, but it is the this one, not actually the head, but it is the mantle which stores the organs. Actually, true head is very small, which is present around the eyes, and the head is very soft and rubbery. Because of this nature, it can burst the water as it siphons the system, sucks water into the gills so it can breathe. Not only that, this water which is taken inside is flushed out through the gills with the help of which the gaseous exchange takes place. An octopus eye, if you observe, it is very similar to that of a human eye. Octopus has pupil in the eyes that dilates and contracts. And this is all usually used to test new eye drugs. This is very, very important. Eyes are very similar to that of the human eyes. Even the pupil can dilate and contract like the we human beings, depending upon the intensity of light. So that's why the octopus eyes are used to test new eye drugs. Instead of putting directly on the human eyes, it is tested with these eyes of the octopus. In fact, they have the highest developed brain among the molluscs. Even it is also seen that many species of octopus can change color. As the animal is having a pigment sac which can store the pigment. Even it changes the color to express its emotions, like deter predators, attract prey. Based on the demand, it changes its color. There is one example, one species which can turn, which turns bright red whenever a crab approaches, because crabs are the major predators. Even other octopus can change the color from blue green to water color, so they can be easily camouflaged. There are many others which can, there are many species which can change color from blue green to water color or any other color. Even there are certain octopus which exhibit different colors on different sides of their body. You can see the well developed eyes. These octopus are generally solitary creatures, not in groups, single. Most of the species hide in holes, cracks, crevices, burrows during the day. Most of their hiding places are with rocks, and usually the octopus comes out for hunting at the night. They feed on shrimp, clams, crabs, even other crustaceans and molluscs are also become their food. One example how clever they are in catching the even collecting the food. Reef octopuses. While hunting, even they overturn the rocks, even search the crevasses with their very sensitive arm. Based on their brilliance, John Faustus, who is from the University of Texas, all eight arms are working at once. They can work at once, investigating every cracks and crevices. Arms, all of you know, they are provided with the suction cups. So if at all any prey is noticed, immediately they can be pulled out. Most of the octopuses have around 1,200 suckers on each of its arm. Even there are examples. Octopus born with six legs, very rarely, six legs. It's because they have no skeletal to support their body. They have only tough tendons, with the help of which it can support or even anchor the muscles. These tendons make the muscles much tougher. Tendons make the muscles much tougher than those which are found in the other parts of the body. The usually people do not eat the octopus because octopus meat has a rubbery texture. See, this is how the octopus appears in the ocean. Even each side of the tentacle, the octopus have a brain-like organ. Undoubtedly, a well-developed brain is required for the tentacles so that there will be free movement. And there is no bones or skeletal structure or shells. Tentacles can turn in infinite degrees, and thus it becomes directions for the movement. As I have already put it, octopuses feeds mainly on crabs, lobsters, although there are some which can feed on the phytoplankton. Even in many of the Mediterranean countries, East Asia, and other parts of the world, even the octopus is not left that has been used as food. See how brightly the two rows of the suckers are visible here. Even octopus can produce venom, but only few of species can produce the poison which are fatal to human beings also. There are three or four species which are closely related and they can also protect themselves by producing the toxins. So that's why they are also called as world's most poisonous molluscs. Mostly they are marine, that to marine water of Australia, Indonesia, and parts of Southeast Asia. The octopus species carry a toxin, a poison, capable of killing a person in minutes. There are certain people which smuggle this also. Even one species of octopus produces such a powerful toxin which is sufficient to kill 10 people. But fortunately, the danger is very less because octopuses are not aggressive. Most of the cases, when they get disturbed, they bite, both in water as well as when they are provoked also. Octopus have separate sexes and the male has specially modified arm, one tentacle, that is known as hectocotylus, with the help of which it can insert the spermatophore or pockets of sperm directly into the female mantle cavity. Another species of octopus, that is vulgaris, there will be mating during the winter and produces an egg of about 0.3 mm long, which are laid under rocks or in holes, and it amounts the eggs to the tune of 1 lakh during the 4 to 8 weeks. After 4 to 8 weeks, the female and the male, they get separate. Usually males go out. Female usually guard the egg, clean them. When the tiny octopus are hatched from the egg, they resemble their parents. Usually, during this time, they drift or float on the water body. Then they take rest at the bottom. This is something about the octopus. Then we will have one more example